And welcome to the Chairman's Wrestling Podcast. I'm Steven Vincent, and today we're going to talk about August 1st, 2016, Monday Night Raw. As every wrestling fan knows, the first Raw of the new era kicked off and was freaking epic. And I want to know if this Raw we saw last night matched the awesome Raw from last week. Those that don't remember, Sasha Banks became the women's champion. Finn Balor is going to face Seth Rollins at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship. And let me just say, we're off to good things here for the Raw brand. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I'm at Chairman Podcast. Keep tabs on me on Twitter and see me live tweet shows when I can. And just some polls and some stuff I like to rant and rave about. Also, subscribe to my channel. I don't think I have any subscribers yet, so it'd be really cool if someone subscribed or at least liked something I did on here, or at least left a comment or asked a question, just to know I know that I'm actually getting through to like 4 people. But anyways, let's break Raw down, see where we're at, see how awesome it was compared to last week. We started off the show with Sasha Banks, new women's champion, and this was a different way to start Raw because the women usually don't kick the show off. It's usually, authority figures or world champions. But hey, this was cool. It was fresh. I actually did not get to see Sasha Banks start the show. She got to the ring and we had a little issue with the PlayStation View again. It was really awful last week for SmackDown, and luckily that there was only a little hiccup last night where I missed Sasha. I got, right back on when Charlotte's music hit, which, let's be honest, we all knew it was going to lead to a Sasha Banks-Charlotte confrontation. The insults were just brutal, too. My goodness, the things that those girls said to each other last night, wow, man. It was a great promo. It got me excited. It got me thinking we're off to another great Raw. And it was just announced that the rematch for Charlotte and Sasha is going to be at SummerSlam, as expected. So we're a couple of weeks away from that match. But the weird thing is Chris Jericho shows up. Now, why would Chris Jericho get involved in a top women feud? Is it because Chris Jericho wants to challenge Sasha for the women's championship? Obviously, that was not the case, but he, some reason, decided to stick up for Charlotte and teaming up with her to, slander Sasha down a little bit. It was kind of a new twist on things, and Chris Jericho's heel work in this last few months has been some of his best. And, the scarf, the cheesy little goatees growing now, his new catchphrases like Stupid Idiot and The Gift of Jericho, drink it in, man. It's great. I was getting kind of sick of Jericho for a little while there. It was getting kind of stale, but the last few months he's really developed a whole new persona, and I love it. I'm kind of curious how long Jericho's going to stick around him. He's been around for, this run he's on right now for quite some time now. You would think eventually he'll probably step away from the WWE again and concentrate on his band Fozzy and other things he does. So, but nevertheless, Enzo, of all people, comes to Sasha Banks' aid. And I was kind of wondering, with Jericho out there, someone was going to come out there to help, back her up. I was kind of thinking New Day for a little bit, because I know they got some interesting relationship on Twitter. But hey, Enzo works. It was cool. And he didn't bring Big Cass out either. This was a, solo project for Enzo Amore. Smack Talk of Skywalker, coming down there. And the promo was just great. I mean, it was hilarious. Lots of innuendos, very TV 14-ish, Attitude Era kind of. It was great. I wish every promo was this awesome. If you're going to have a promo to get people excited, this is the way you do it. Whoever was behind this promo, hats off. You did a phenomenal job. And, of course, it set up the opening match of the night. Mixed tag action. Chris Jericho and Charlotte versus Sasha Banks and Enzo Amore. This is how you get people interested in your product. You kick it off with a great promo with these 4. And then the match itself was phenomenal. Jericho got some major ups on a, drop kick there one time. The women just went to town on each other like they always do. But of course, the Dana Brooke factor kicked in here, and of course gave the assist to Charlotte and Chris Jericho, which is how they end up victorious over Sasha and Enzo. Part of me was a little surprised that Sasha Banks took the pin in this match. I'm one of those people that's very against a champion taking a loss, regardless of the match. I just hate that. I think Enzo probably should have been taking the loss, the pin there, just because, Sasha's a champion. And, I get, Charlotte obviously had to build some momentum up to make herself look like a credible threat against, the opponent, but what's done is done. Charlotte and Dana are making their move. They're threatening right now. And, Sasha's got to be careful here the next couple weeks with SummerSlam approaching, because Charlotte will do anything to get that title back. But keep in mind also, Kevin Owens was a special guest commentator here for this match, whether you remember that or not. And Owens had some interactions with Enzo and Cass, right around the draft. So I think he's a little sour about that. And the way it looks, Jericho isn't a big fan of Enzo and Cass. So, needless to say, we're probably going to see, Enzo and Cass feuding with Jericho and Owens for the foreseeable future, which is also going to be fun. So I'm liking to see Enzo and Cass in some good feuds while they're not going for the tag team championships, because it looks like New Day and the Club are right now engaged in a feud. But anyways, let's hit it up to the next match. Braun Strowman returns, finds local talent, destroys them in seconds, and I really don't know what the direction is for Braun Strowman, and I'm sure no one does. I mean, obviously, he's going to keep squashing local jobbers for probably a few more weeks, probably get a match at SummerSlam. Probably the Big Show is going to be his opponent. I mean, I can just see, Braun's a big dude, and Big Show's a big dude. It's probably what's going to happen. Big Show is on Raw, right? I don't remember, because, we haven't seen him a whole lot. But, I don't know. Whatever. Maybe, I don't know. It's all a blur to me. But, anyways, next up was a, Raw started off hot last night, guys, with that first segment with, Enzo, Cass. Well, Cass, I guess, at the end there, but Charlotte, Sasha, and, Jericho. But then it kind of, squash match, that's okay, But then it kind of, the decrease kept going down, though. You had this R-Truth, Golden Truth nonsense with this Pokemon Go thing. It was funny the first time, they made the Pokemon Go references, but, now it's like they're keeping this going with this thing, and are they seriously going to let a popular mobile game, cause friction between a tag team here? Because that's looking like where this is going. So the Shining Stars were already in the ring. Didn't even have an introduction. So usually, you figured, okay, it's going to be an enhancement match. Golden Truth's going to win. But then they had this whole comedy spiel thing with the Pokemon, and R-Truth's distracted, and the Shining Stars take advantage and beat Golden Truth. So it was basically filler, stupid. I hated it. It did nothing for wrestling. And I felt last night there was a lot of matches, a lot of segments. They tried to pump a lot into 3 hours last night, I think, to get more people on the show. But I don't like, short matches. I think they're stupid. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, when they're doing it with Braun Strowman, it's fine, because, obviously it's to make him look better. But there's only so many of those matches you can have a night. And I felt last night a lot of matches were really quick. Like you take, for instance, last week, you had how many matches that went on for a reasonable amount of time? Over 1 or 2 commercial breaks. I mean, the matches were great. But it felt like last night it was more, let's get on everything we can in 3 hours. And unfortunately, this kind of comedy shit stick's gonna be part of it. But hey, you know what? We're kind of making our way back uphill now because, pretty much top of the hour, Finn Balor has an interview with Michael Cole, but obviously you knew Seth Rollins was going to come out, and sure enough he did. Seth kind of pretty much called Finn a repeat of himself because Seth Rollins, first NXT champion, and, on and on about the first he thinks he's done. And Finn Balor is kind of just, doing what he's already done. Finn, of course, believes he's going to be the first Universal Champion. Rollins disagrees. They say their spew. The first interaction, it was great. Got you interested. Rollins, of course, tried to take a cheap shot at Balor, and Balor was having none of that and smoked him out of the ring with a Pele kick. So it got the point across, and it'll be interesting to see where we go here in the next few weeks with SummerSlam approaching. But I did my poll, a few days ago, and out of the SummerSlam matches we know about between Rollins and Balor, Orton and Lesnar, and Ambrose Ziggler, which one are you most excited about? Now, granted, I only had about 20-something people vote, but we had 76% people ready for Rollins and Balor. And that's pretty much where my money lies, because that's the match I really want to see. I'm a huge Seth Rollins fan. Been a big fan of Finn Balor, so I definitely think these two are going to give us something special at SummerSlam. And the other 24% went with Orton Lesnar. Obviously, that's, there's fans of the Lesnar, there's fans of Orton, and, their long careers. Obviously both men have done a lot in the business. Both of them are very highly respected people. So, of course, there's going to be people I want to see that match, and I do too. Nobody voted for Ambrose and Ziggler, though. Maybe it's because it's a match we've seen before a few times. Recently, as a Money in the Bank qualifying match. I just feel Ambrose and Ziggler isn't a SummerSlam must-see match. It'll probably be a good match, though, I'm sure. Especially depends on how it's built. But, it doesn't have what the other two matches have, I guess. And Rollins did say he would take care of Balor's buddy, same as he in the main event tonight. So that's something to look forward to. They had a great match on SmackDown a few weeks ago. And then we had Mark Henry backstage talking to Stephanie and Mick Foley. They both have different ideas. Mark Henry thinks he still has gas in the tank, while the other two drafted him to be more of a mentor to the younger superstars. So Mark Henry gets a U.S. title match against Rusev. So these two big men just kind of beat each other around for quite some time. And hey, hats off to Raw for giving us a United States Championship match. This is what I'm loving about the new era of Raw. We're getting title matches. This is awesome. I mean, granted, most people figured Rusev would win this match, and sure enough, he did. But hey, it's to make Rusev look good. And Rusev's doing a great thing right now. But, Rusev then, of course, did the post-attack. So, beats up Mark Henry a little more. Well, then you get thinking, okay, somebody's going to come out and make the save. Who's it going to be? Who's going to be the one to challenge Rusev next? And the person that came out took me by complete surprise. Did not see this coming at all. Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns comes down to the ring. He's got, a little red in his attire now, sporting the Raw colors, and him and Rusev, they just have at it, I guess. So, if anybody can figure this out, Rusev will probably put his title on the line against Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. This kind of terrifies me a little bit because, Rusev is probably going to drop the title to Reigns if this is the route they're going. But maybe not. I really hope not. I think Reigns needs to be punished a little bit for his recent suspension. And sure, they dropped him out of the main event scene for a while, the way it's looking, but the man should not be called a champion. And if anything, I'm hoping he elevates Rusev's stock. Because I think if Rusev can successfully defend against Reigns at SummerSlam, think of what the potential for Rusev could be. I mean, he could be the elite monster heel for Raw if, he comes out of this feud of Reigns looking great. it might be I mean, it's hard to say where they're going to go from here, but I'm anxious to see next Raw where this story goes. So I definitely give hats off to the creative team for coming up with this idea. It's original, it's different, but I'm hoping the end result is not Reigns destroying Rusev, and then Rusev becomes a lost in the mid-card afterthought again. So I'm curious to see where it goes. And then we had primetime players wrestling in a match against each other. Titus O'Neil, Darren Young. I guess there was a interaction backstage where Titus said Darren was never great. Match itself, nothing great. And the weird thing is, like, Titus rolled up holding tights to get the win here. So what the hell is going on? Is it going to be Titus a heel again? Because it really didn't work the first time. And I Darren Young attacking him backstage. I really don't know what they're doing with these two. It's like they almost don't know what they're doing with these two. Like, Titus had a decent little push for a while, and then he kind of gets thrown away, and then he kind of gets another push, and then he kind of gets thrown away. It's almost like he's kind of lost in the mid-card. And same with Darren. Like, Darren had his little thing with Miz a month ago. The match was probably the worst of the card, a battleground. And really hope these two don't keep feuding, because that was a terrible feud. Go back to Elimination Chamber 2014 if you want to see that great pay-per-view match. I recommend you don't. And for all of our sakes, I really hope they find a way to make Darren Young and Titus O'Neil great again. But up next, Nia Jax, Beast local talent. And pretty much, out of all the women wrestlers on Raw, we've only seen, Charlotte and Sasha, of course, Dana the lapdog for Charlotte, and then Nia Jax. You gotta remember, there's quite a few other women on the Raw brand. I know Paige is one of them. I believe Summer Rae's on there. But, I haven't heard a peep out of them at all. I think Alicia Fox is on Raw, if I remember right. So, when are we going to see the others? So, my thing is the same with Braun Strowman for the males. Nia's going to probably destroy these local talents. Someone's going to probably try to step up to Nia Jax. Might be a SummerSlam match. It might not be a SummerSlam match. I don't think it's going to be. It'll probably be saved more for the Raw pay-per-view, the first one they're doing. So, I haven't really researched which one they're doing. I know SmackDown announced theirs for September 11th. I think it was Backlash, if I remember right. But there's a lot going on. Anyways, after that we had New Day in the Club. And apparently the club petitioned that New Day member that wasn't wrestling in the tag team match be barred for ringside. So, Xavier Woods had a banana, and Big E and Kofi had oranges, and then they tried to make a fruit, erotica joke. It was weird. And of course they were pimping their Spoodio cereal for $12 a box. No thank you. No cereal's worth $12 or whatever it is. But the match was like super short though. It was really stupid because you're trying to build the club up as a threat to New Day's tag team title run, and they get beat like in minutes with a dumb roll up. This whole thing was stupid. As far as the match, they should have had a match. They should have just attacked them. But I mean, after the match, of course, the club destroyed New Day, and then they took Big E and smashed his balls on a pole. So I mean, I don't know. This feud's interesting, but at the same time, I don't know where they're gonna go with it. I feel like the club shouldn't have been separated from AJ Styles because they're really lost without him. I think with AJ they were complete. So I think that was a mistake, personally, separating those guys. If anything, they should have put them with Finn Balor, But obviously, they didn't do that because obviously if the club, Al Anderson and Gallows were hanging with Finn Balor, that would make Seth Rollins' chances at becoming Universal Champion tough. And I think that could have been a really fun storyline. But, like I said, that's not the route we're going. So, anyhow, moving on. Cesaro and Sheamus are backstage talking to Stephanie and Mick Foley about, you know, being the face of this Raw brand. That they deserve more. So, they're wrestling in a match. And apparently the winner was promised a future title shot. Okay, which title shot? Because obviously, Dean Ambrose has the WWE Championship on SmackDown, and Miz has the Intercontinental Championship on SmackDown. Obviously, they can't fight for those titles, most likely. Your Universal Champion hasn't been crowned yet. You're still waiting until SummerSlam. So the only singles title that these two can fight for would be the United States Championship held by Rusev. But it looks like Roman Reigns is staking his claim on that. But then again, maybe next week we'll see Cesaro face Rusev for the U.S. title because Cesaro beat Sheamus. Or it's going to be one of those new cute things that WWE likes to do where we forget that this guy gets a title match. Well, I'm starting the countdown tracker on my Twitter. I'm going to announce it every time I see Cesaro and ask, where's his title match? Because that man deserves gold. That guy is a phenomenal athlete. He is a freak in the ring. He gets it done. The Cesaro section loves him. So, yeah. His wrestling speaks louder than his words do, my friends. But then we had this really awkward Heath Slater crashing Raw this time. Obviously, last week on SmackDown, he didn't get signed, so he tried his luck on Raw. And he brought Jinder Mahal with him. Those of you may that remember Jinder Mahal, he used to be part of 3MB with Heath Slater and some other guy that we probably can't mention because he's not part of WWE. Actually, we can because we're not affiliated. Drew McIntyre, who wrestles with Drew Galloway in TNA. But, so yeah, I was kind of waiting to see, hey, maybe next week, Drew might come back and reform 3MB. Thankfully, that didn't happen because Mick Foley basically gave these two the ultimatum that the winner of this match they made up would get a Raw contract. And Heath was all about, no, we're friends. And Jinder's like, screw you, buddy. Boom. Dropped him like a bad habit. Jinder Mahal is now on the Raw brand, and Heath Slater is still unsigned. So I really wonder how much longer this whole Heath Slater thing is going to last. I really think he just should go to NXT. I said it in my podcast last week. I think Slater should go to NXT for a while. I think it'd be good for him, but we'll see what happens. Then the main event, we had Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn. Another great match between these two. Two of the best wrestlers on both, all of WWE. Both Raw, SmackDown as a combined unit. These two are awesome. And it was a great match. And, the only thing that's unfortunate for Sami Zayn here is he was kind of just used as a stepping stone to elevate Rollins. Rollins obviously got the win here in a great fought match between these two. But, Sami Zayn, what's next for him, What's he going to do now? Last week he tried his luck at becoming a contender for the Universal Championship, but his efforts were thwarted. But now he's facing Rollins and not winning, so Sami Zayn's kind of lost right now. He's finally got Kevin Owens out of his life somehow, considering they're on the same brand, which I wish they really would have split those two up. So, I don't know what they're going to do with Sami Zayn. I really hope they have something for him, though, because he's a great guy. He's also got to deserve some gold, too. But there's only so much gold in WWE, though. But then we had the end of the show. Paul Heyman returns with Brock Lesnar. First time we've seen them since WrestleMania when Lesnar beat Ambrose in a very disappointing match. So these guys are here. Paul's pimping Lesnar, talking about, all the great things he's done and how Orton's not going to hit an RKO on the Beast and Viperville's going to burn to the ground, and Suplex City, blah, 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 blah. Kind of the same old Heyman thing, but then, guess what happens? This I did not expect. RKO out of nowhere. Randy Orton literally just sleeks in the ring and bam. RKO's the shit out of Lesnar. Heyman doesn't know what to think. Could this happen at SummerSlam? I have no idea. But this was a cool moment. Randy Orton breaking barriers, being the first superstar to jump from the SmackDown brand to the Raw brand for a night. So it's kind of cool seeing, wrestlers crashing shows, seeing all that security run right out, trying to get Orton out of there. So here's my question is, does Lesnar counter? Does Lesnar, the Beast Incarnate, invade SmackDown and take Orton out? Does it happen tonight? Does it happen next week? We got, plenty of time between now and SummerSlam. But don't be surprised if the Beast comes to SmackDown and destroys Orton some night. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Then again, WWE may not want to waste an appearance, so maybe they won't go that route. Maybe they'll just have Heyman come on Raw next week and vent a little. Speaking of Heyman, I don't think he was drafted with Lesnar, so does that mean he can float between shows too? I don't know. So that was the end of Raw. Randy Orton taking the Beast down, getting everybody ready for the big match. So with SmackDown tonight, I'm hoping to hear Orton, because obviously he should be on the show. But all else fails, Anyways, Twitter @Chairman Podcast, gonna be tweeting. So that was my Raw recap. I thought it was a good Raw. It definitely wasn't a great Raw. I'd probably give it 7 out of 10. Might be generous. I mean, obviously there wasn't a match that really said, awesome, must-see match. There definitely wasn't a match like that. I definitely think the opening match, Charlotte and, Jericho against Enzo and Sasha, was fun. The segments were great there. That was probably the highlight of the night for sure. I mean, Rollins and Zayn, don't get me wrong, no slouch, great match as well, but I felt like there was no reason to get invested in the match. Obviously the build for the opening match was there because they had the nice promo to start the show when Rollins and when he was in the ring with Balor just said, hey, I'm fighting your buddy tonight. I'm going to destroy him. So, I don't know. I like matches that have a meaning and a purpose. So, I definitely am going to give my match of the night to Enzo and Sasha versus Charlotte and Jericho. I really don't have a Raw MVP. You know what? I'm gonna give it to Randy Orton. He's on the SmackDown brand, but the fact that he crashed the party speaks volumes. So cross-brand awarding, why not? Let's do it. Let's give it to Randy Orton, star of the Raw, because that was awesome to see him show up and RKO Lesnar. Awesome, just awesome, guys. Anyways, that is it for me. I'm done here, and we're gonna do another podcast here, hopefully tomorrow afternoon. And I'm going to talk about SmackDown. Please, SmackDown, have a better show this week. Please, because that one last week was so god darn awful. It was bad. So I think with the Raw kind of coming down from the big high they had, this is SmackDown's time to rise up and take the balls. American Alpha debuts tonight. We've seen three promos on Raw last night announcing that. So kind of curious to see what's going to happen with American Alpha tonight. Looking forward to that. Obviously hoping Orton, says something. And then obviously we got Ziggler and Ambrose. The seeds are planted. So I'm curious to see where we go there. And then of course don't forget John Cena, Bray Wyatt, AJ Styles, all the women on SmackDown like Becky Lynch, Natalya. So there's definitely some fun to be had on SmackDown tonight. The question is, will creative give it to us? Anyways, we're done here. Thanks for checking out the Chairman's Wrestling Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.